Sharing. I think we're recording. Okay, well, I'll get to it. This is such a quick lightning talk session. And really, I just wanted to, share some ideas with other faculty on different digital humanities assignments and tools that I've used successfully in my classes, in case it inspires you and you want to investigate using these in your own classes down the road. So yeah, my name's Candace Hawk, and I'm in the history department. And yeah, let's get going. So the way I've sort of structured this very quick talk is I'm going to quickly do an introduction, and then I'll give you 3 examples of different assignments I brought into my classes using digital humanities as a gateway for learning. And then if we have time left, I'd love to leave some time for discussion. So let's get going. A little bit about me, just to sort of foreground this discussion. Let's see, I started off my academic career as an archaeologist, and during my undergrad, I was very fortunate to be able to work for different archaeological companies during the summers. And this is when I was introduced to the power of mapping. So as an archaeologist, you learn to write reports for the government, in Canada, that is, for what you've been digging, but you also have to use various mapping software packages to map out and show exactly what kind of work you've done, to create plans, to show the work that you've done out in the field, and so on. So a lot of communication. And this skill, this mapping skill that I learned early on, has saved my butt so many times. When other archaeologists were losing their jobs or weren't able to find one, mapping was a key skill that kept me in the game. But it also gave me a really fantastic sort of edge academically. It's allowed me to work with a lot of really interesting projects around the world, in particular in South Asia. My work is in India. My own research is in South India. So I digitize and analyze early medieval sacred landscapes. And my mapping skill has also allowed me to join up right now with a really fantastic project that's in Pakistan. There's some new hydro dams that are being built in the Upper Indus Valley area. And I'm working with a group called the Cultural Heritage in Pakistan Project, and we're basically trying to preserve cultural heritage in this sort of route way that early Buddhists and other communities used to get from South Asia into Central Asia there. So I'm doing the mapping. We've got teams out in Pakistan that are recording the information. I'm telling them where to go, and then we're going to be collecting all of this information. And right now we're working on how to put that together and package it for researchers, for the public, for museums, for stakeholders, for pretty much everyone. So this one skill that I managed to just kind of stumble upon during my undergrad has been incredibly invaluable. So I try to bring spatial and temporal analysis in some capacity into my undergraduate classes because it's employable. It helps you be just a really fantastic student, I think. Ask interesting questions in new and interesting ways, but also visualize data. So the first really easily transportable digital humanities project that you can bring into pretty much any class is timeline building. And I know there's quite a few professors on campus that have their classes doing timeline building, and I just want to cheer that on. So there's so many great no cost or low cost programs out there for building timelines. And this is a fantastic project especially for general education classes, right? Very low sort of curve for learning these software packages. They're all very intuitive. You don't need heavy software. Basically, all you need is access to the internet. You can do it as long as you have a browser. I am an advocate for Precedent. Precedent, like I said, is low to no cost, especially for educators. Very low bar for learning how to use this, but it's effective for in-person courses, for online courses, and yeah, it's very accessible. The thing I want to preface with this statement is that they're not always hassle-free, right? There's always bugs, and you just kind of have to always be gentle and not get upset when there's bugs that needs to be tampered with. Anyways, so I use Precedent for timeline building, in particular in my general education classes. So what I do is I get the students to build timelines of important dates and events that they come across in their readings from their textbook and from in class. So by doing this, I get them to, one, review course content, and two, they've got a fantastic studying guide all pre-made for them that they've made for themselves for exams that come up. So this works really well. And also, Precedent gives you the ability to be as creative or as uncreative as you want. So you can color code things, you can insert multimedia, pictures, whatever. So however you learn, you can adapt Precedent for your timelines. Yeah, also by getting students to build a timeline, this is kind of a low stakes, low pressure assignment that they can do consistently throughout the semester. Again, it's a win-win. The more they put into it, the more they're going to benefit from it. And so I'm an advocate for this. So basic building blocks in Precedent, you create layers. Within layers, you plug in events. So I say, create layers based on chapters in your textbook, and then create events that appear within each chapter. Now we're talking about time. So time can be understood as one moment in time or a series of moments. So like a time chunk. So for example, we could plug in, say, when the Communist Manifesto was initially published as one date, right? Or you can talk about, World War II lasting a chunk of time that has a start and an end date. So there's some flexibility here with understanding the progress of time. And once you're done with creating your timeline, you can print it as a PDF, easy to submit on Blackboard or whatever we're going to be using in the future. So it's very, very handy. And actually, I do want to show you a very quick example of what this looks like. So let me share with you something else. Stop share, screen share. Here we go. So this is one of my students' timelines that he created for chapter 4 of a textbook. And this is from my General Education Class History 102. So you can see here, we've got times, events plugged in. So you can see it like, as in, this sort of display, but it also is displayed here. And with each sort of event, you can put in notes. This is where I encourage them to put notes in that explain to me and for themselves, why this event is important in history. So they can easily come back to this when they're studying for one of their exams. So a couple of chapters. And this is also where you can plug in images and that sort of thing and get creative. So chapter 4, that's a layer with, with events plugged in. So I'm just looking at my chat. Yeah, okay. So Let me stop sharing. So that's just a quick view of that, and we'll come back to my PowerPoint here. Okay, from current slide. Now the next from current slide, there we go. Now the next sort of digital humanities tools I really want to advocate for is the fact that the SUNY system actually has a license for us to use Esri's suite of mapping tools. So these are ArcGIS, so geographic information space information systems. So this is all about mapping, and by combining the mapping software and one of their other apps, Story Maps, you can have your students create really engaging digital storytelling narratives. So I'll go into that a bit more. Now, Esri, if you're not familiar, like I said, they have a suite of mapping sort of apps and programs. They all kind of have different levels of accessibility, like different level, like the learning curves are different for each one. Now, ArcGIS Online is very user-friendly. It's not, it's a more sophisticated version of Google Earth, and you don't need to have a massive PC to run it. You just need, again, access to the internet, and it lives online. So ArcGIS Online, great mapping software, and I'll show that to you in a second. And you create maps there. It's very intuitive, and yeah, it's kind of light mapping. You can make these maps and you can import it into an app called Story Maps, where you can tell a story with interactive maps and multimedia. So the other program that I've taught in classes, mapping software program, is Arcmap. Now, the learning curve for Arcmap is way higher, but you can do really sophisticated mapping. And I want to encourage professors to teach mapping to our students right now using ArcGIS software platforms, because like I said, we have a license, it is expensive. So this is the time when students can learn it for free. So it's free to them because we are paying for it. And this is, dip your toes in and you can continue to expand your mapping skills, beyond your undergraduate, right? So this is just a good time to freely get use of our ArcGIS, Arcmap, ArcGIS Online, all this sort of stuff. So I typically have my students right now using ArcGIS Online, easy to learn, and then we embed their research within Story Maps. Now, Story Maps, like I said, you can embed text, photos, maps, everything's sort of interactive, and everything lives online. So you can create really great story websites that can be plugged into digital portfolios for students. They can be used in conferences to talk through a presentation, or even just for in-class presentations. And students can be as creative as they want there too. So I'll show you some examples of that very quickly. Let me see here. Share the screen with. Okay, so this is ArcGIS Online. Very user-friendly, like I said. You can choose a selection of base maps. So let's just quickly zoom to where I do my research in Hampi, India, Hospit. There we go. So we're here. Let's use a different base map. Let's look at the topography. Here we go. Zoom right in. So easy to mark up, easy to save. This is very user friendly. This is where students can make maps, and this is how they can get them into other programs. Now I have all of my students sort of grouped up into classes here under groups. So this is, these are all my different classes here. Now I'll show you what a story map from one of my classes looks like with maps embedded into it. So this is one of my students who was researching the 12 Jyotirlingas of India. So images, storytelling, these are the maps that she made. The table of contents, these are the places that we're going. And you can interact with these maps here, as well as just keep scrolling through the story as she's written it. So you can embed your research. You've got, you know, images here, very visually engaging, research, place-based research. So that's the sort of thing that's happening there. The other thing I want to advocate for is that we have the CTS is so fantastic at helping instructors make sure that this works for your class, right? We've got fantastic support. So this, if you want to experiment with these programs in your classroom, you've got a great support network helping you make that happen. Oops, let me share my screen again. Now, the other program I've used is Google Earth Pro. Google Earth is sort of transitioning away from using Google Earth as an app to more being website based, which kind of reduces the functionality that I'm interested in, like marking up maps, recording little tours, that sort of thing, which is too bad. But it's still, I use Google Earth Pro in particular when I went and taught for a summer in Korea. This way I knew everyone could have Google Earth on whatever, you know, laptop they might have. You don't need a dedicated PC again. You can just install it on pretty much any device. So this is a nice free alternative to Arcgis Online and story maps. It requires internet, but there's a low learning curve here. It's buggy a bit, but if you understand where the bugs are, you can help the students sort of overcome those and that sort of thing. So in Google Earth, you can, like in, like I was showing you with the other research there, you can embed research at different places in space. So you can explore space and time nicely in Google Earth Pro. You're just not going to get that skill set that using an ArcGIS or an Esri product will give you. So for one of my classes, I had my students investigate space in terms of a particular established pilgrimage traditions, either a Hindu one or a Buddhist one. One was in Japan, the Shikoku pilgrimage. And if I have time, I'll show it to you. This is the Kumela. This is the Shikoku pilgrimage in Japan. So let me see if I can show this to you. All right, so this is one of my students' final research projects. So she recorded a tour going to all these different, interesting places that she picked out of the Shikoku pilgrimage. And at each spot, she embedded her research and images and talked about why each place was sort of significance. But you get kind of a feel for moving through space and what made these pilgrimage areas so important. So that's the one nice thing that Google Earth lets you do, is record and investigate the landscape in a nice easy package. But yeah, it is a little bit buggy. So I'll stop that there. All right, so that's sort of my very quick overview of these different software packages that I've used. Do you have any questions? Can I help you at all? If you ever want to try bringing some mapping into your class and you want to sort of bounce some ideas off of someone that has done a range of mapping projects in classes, I'm always available to talk with. So I am a resource. Yeah.
Hey, Candace, in your storytelling,
Yeah.
do you use like a Google Sites and have them do like a digital portfolio or something, or is that what you're using?
No, so for the digital storytelling, they embed all of their research into the Story Maps app, but you can take the website location for that particular map that you made and you can embed it in other places. So you can put that into a portfolio elsewhere. You can embed it into a website elsewhere. So it's really flexible on how you want people to view your research. So you can either go straight to the app, or you can take your work and embed it into a website elsewhere.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll stop the recording. Well, these 20-minute sessions are tough, but